We are beginning a new unit today on something called transformations. So today we're going to look at an introduction to what are transformations, and then we're also going to look at the first type of transformation, and then we'll take each type in different lessons after that. So a transformation is taking a figure and changing it in some way. Usually it involves moving it to a new location. It might keep the figure the same size, or it might change the size. And then it is defined by how we are moving the figure from one location to a new location. So there are 4 types of transformations listed out here. These notes are on Schoology, so if you have a printer and you want to print them out and write on it, you can, or you can just, as you have been, take notes in a notebook. So a translation is the first kind. A common word for translation is a slide. Okay, so we could think of just moving the figure as a slide. So it creates a side to side and up down movement. Okay, so a translation is a slide. It's going to take our figure and move it side to side and up and down. A rotation, the common name for a rotation would be a turn. And so a turn is going to need a point. So we'll say it needs a point and an angle measurement, like in degrees. Okay? And then it's a rotation. So we can kind of think of it as like an elbow, and that would be like my point, and then my fist is the object, and I can rotate that figure into a new location. So if this is where it begins, and then I rotate it 90 degrees, now it ends up here. Right? So that would be our rotation. A reflection, a common name for that, we could call it like a flip. And so in a reflection, one way to think about it would be like a mirror image. And so in a reflection, we are going to need a line of reflection. So let's say we have a figure like, there's my hand, a hand, here's my line of reflection, and then it's going to take it and go like this. So it's going to change the direction of the object. So now my thumb is facing in one direction, but now the thumb is facing in the other direction as it flips over this line of reflection. It's like a mirror, okay? So a reflection is like a flip or a mirror image, and for that we're going to need a line of reflection. Now, one important thing to note in all 3 of these, a translation, so a translation is going to take our figure and it's going to move it by moving it up and down and side to side. I'm having trouble staying on my screen here. So it's just up, down, side, side kind of movement to a new place. My fist didn't change size, okay? Just move to a new place. In a rotation, if this is my center of my rotation and I move my object 90 degrees, it's facing a new direction, it's oriented differently, but it's still the same size. My fist didn't change size. And then if I take my fist or my hand and I reflect it over the line, still the same size, facing a different direction, but still the same size. So all 3 of those maintain the size of the object. That is the difference between a dilation. A dilation changes the size of the figure. So a place where you've maybe heard the word dilate before is if you've had to go to an eye doctor. Sometimes they'll drop something, put some eye drops in that cause your pupils to dilate, which means to open up wider so that the eye doctor can see into the eye better. So dilation is changing the size of something. It could be a grow or a shrink. So a dilation is going to change the size of the figure. The other 3 will maintain the same size, although they may change the orientation of it. So they might be facing in a different direction, still going to be the same size. Dilation, it's actually going to get bigger or smaller. Okay? So those are the 4 different types of transformations, and we will spend a day talking about each of those. Today we are specifically going to focus in on translations, the first one of those. So a translation is a slide. So to do a translation, we're going to slide the point or the figure according to the x and the y axis as an ordered pair. So we're going to be thinking about graphing for this. So I'm going to bring up whiteboard here and we'll look at some examples. I'm actually going to switch from the whiteboard to the graph background. There we go. So let's say for my first example, we are going to translate a point, and I'm going to say we're going to go 3 right and 4 down. Okay, so what we're going to have for this then is we're going to have a graph set up, and on this graph we're going to have a point, and I'm going to place the point right here. Okay. That's my point P. Point P could be called my pre-image. Okay, so as a vocab word, we could call this point our pre-image. That is the beginning. That's before it has been moved. Okay, so if point P is my pre-image, I now want to translate or slide that point 3 units to the right and 4 units down. So on graph paper, we can just count out each of the boxes. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3 units to the right, and I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes down and place my point here. I'm going to call that P prime, and I'm going to call that the image. Okay, that is the end result after it has been transformed. Okay, so the pre-image is before transformation, the image is after transformation. And so in this, we took point P and we moved it 3 spots right and 4 spots down. Right? Another way that we could word how to do this transformation, instead of saying 3 spots right and 4 spots down, it would be equivalent to say that we are going to translate P, and then we could say x plus 3 comma y minus 4. Right? So some of your problems might use words like right, left, up, down. Some of your problems might have this x and y with things added. So when we think about that, we want to think about, well, which axis is the x-axis? That is our horizontal axis. So by saying x plus 3, it's saying move sideways plus 3 spots. Positive is considered a right direction. Then for y, well, the y-axis is the up and down one. And if it's y minus 4, minus is our downward direction. Okay, so it might use words like right, left, up, down, but it might also say things like x plus 3 and y minus 4 to give us our directions. So that's one type of problem that you're going to have, is taking a point and then translating it to its new location by either those words or by the x's and y's. And a second kind of problem that you're going to have the picture. And the question then, oh, it didn't actually erase. I told it to erase something and it didn't erase it. It's been acting a little bit. So you're going to have the picture of the, oh, now it's, maybe. There we go. Now it's letting me erase. Okay, so you're going to have the picture of the 2 points, but not how it got there, and that's your job, is to kind of figure out how did we get from the pre-image to the image. So in this case, it's a little bit like detective work, working backwards. How did we get from P to P prime? Well, it looks like we went over 3 spots to the right, and we went down 4 spots. So we went 3 right, and we went 4 down. And so then the answer to the question would be the 3 right, the 4 down, the directions for how to move from one point to the other. So in one type of problem, you're going to be given the directions, and you're going to follow that motion to locate your new point. In another type of problem, you're going to be given your beginning and end, and you have to figure out what are the directions that take me from the beginning to the end. Okay? And in your last type of problem, you're going to be given not just a point. actually just gonna erase this whole thing and we'll start with a new picture because there's too much going on in there. Okay, so you'll be given not just a point, totally missed the line there, but you'll be given maybe, let's say, a triangle A, B, C. And you want to translate the triangle, and we'll just use the same directions, 3 right and 4 down. So then, to translate the triangle, 3 right and 4 down, you're going to take each point and transform it. So I'm going to take point A and go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my new location for A, and I'll call it A prime. Then I'm going to take point C and say, okay, let's go 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. There is my new location for point C, and I'll call it C prime. And then I'm going to take point B, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And there is my new location for B prime. And then I would connect those together to make my new figure. Okay, so in translating a shape, you're just going to repeat the idea of translating a point, but for each vertex of the figure. Do take note that these two triangles are perfectly congruent to each other. Okay, they're exactly congruent to each other. The size of the triangle did not change at all. Everything is oriented exactly the same way as well. Okay, so that is how we do transformations. So as always, let me know what questions you have and how I can help you.